Yeah, so hello everyone. Today we have a special guest on our channel. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure, Ashish. So, hello everyone. My name is Kaazima, and I'm a final year computer science undergraduate from Amrita School of Engineering, and I'm currently doing my internship at Swiggy as an SD intern.
Okay, so let's get straight into it. Tell us about your interview experience, the rounds, everything in details.
Yeah, sure. So, I would say it was a great experience interviewing with Swiggy. And coming to the process, it consisted of three rounds, which spanned over 2 days. So, on the first day, we had an online coding test, and on the second day, we had two technical rounds of interviews.
Okay.
So coming to the first round, the online test was about 90 minutes, 1.5 hour, and we were given four questions. One was a SQL query question, which involved concepts like group by, order by, and nested queries and fetching top n items.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the three were problem solving and DSA questions. So one of them was an array-based question. I would say it would be close to easy level
Hmm.
because with a brute force approach with a little bit of optimization, we could solve almost all the test cases except one or two. And then comes one more question, which was a DP based question, and then one more was a tree based question. So overall, I would say it was a medium level, uh, not so easy, not so tough. So it was a medium level test, and then finally, who all got shortlisted. So what I got to know was most of them solved two questions completely, and the rest were the partial test cases.
Okay.
And then came the second round on the next day, which was the technical interview round one. And this happened for around 45 minutes. And it was more like a code pairing round, I would say, rather
Oh,
than like a
okay.
technical interview. Yeah, so my panel consisted of two interviewers, and each of them asked me one question each. And like we know in general in code pairing round they mainly test our thought process
Yeah,
rather than like
yes.
final approach. So the same thing happened. So first question that was given to me was a graph based question, and the first approach that I gave was really not the right one.
Yeah.
And so they asked me to explain me with the examples. uh, so I tried giving what examples that I have like based on which I proposed my approach. So seeing those examples, they realized that I have not thought about the edge cases. So
Oh,
what they did is they tried to give one example and asked me to tell my approach. So that is when I realized that I'm going wrong. So what I'll say here is that you have to speak out what you're thinking, because
yes.
that will be really helpful in this round. That is, like, they'll try helping you when they get to know what you're actually thinking.
Yeah.
So this helped me a lot during this round. And yeah, that's how. And then the second approach was a little bit optimized, but it was not like a final one. So yeah, and then later after trying for a couple of times, and I think it was the third time that I got the final approach. So yeah, that's done. And then the second question was an I suppose it was a array based question. So yeah, I completed it, and finally they asked the time complexity and space complexity for both the questions. Yeah, that was how this round went. So for me, it was just like a code pairing, but for a couple of my friends, they even had questions on the core concepts like OS, DBMS, OOPS, and
Okay.
networking too. Yeah.
They
So
didn't
and
ask
after
you
this,
about that?
yeah,
They
no, for me, those questions were asked in the next round.
okay.
Yeah, so the next round, it was like a technical round itself.
Okay.
So this also happened for around 45 minutes. And for me, it was more like a technical plus HR round
Oh,
because
okay.
like it started with technical questions,
Hmm.
ended up with HR questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this round, it was mostly based on my resume and detailed discussion on my projects, like the motivation behind choosing a project, or like the brief description of
Yeah.
all the modules. And then it went too deep into the project that we even discussed the code, the functions that I have
Oh,
used.
okay.
Yeah, so it was really nice. Like it was nice, and because I worked on those projects and I was feeling happy explaining them, so it was nice. And then few questions were based on the agile methodology because I told that I have used that in one of my projects.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then, yeah, like I said, the core concepts were asked for me in this round. Some SQL queries also, which involves self join concept and about different types of joins also. uh, and then, yeah, one maps or dictionary based question. It was it was to test my thought process, though I could not come up with the exact answer. And then, yeah, like a couple of technical questions, and then finally ended it with, like I said, HR questions, like why Swiggy, or what are your expectations from here, and what all factors would you consider before joining any company.
Yeah,
So yeah, such type of questions it was there, and yeah, that's how this round ended.
that was the final round.
Yeah, this was the final round.
Okay, nice. I'm glad you went into details with everything. So, like, Swiggy is a dream company for a lot of people. It offers a nice package, and a lot of people want to get into Swiggy. So, what advice would you give to people, how to prepare, what to focus on so they can also crack a company like Swiggy or like Swiggy?
Okay. So firstly, in general, like every other company related to SD role, we have to be good at the fundamentals on all the core concepts like OS, DBMS, OOPS, or networking, all the computer science related subjects.
Yeah,
So we have to be good at all those basics. And secondly, it is about DSA and problem solving, because almost two rounds involved those
yeah,
questions. And I would say we have to practice as much as we can, because that is when we get to know the different approaches for any problem. We'll be able to
true.
easily identify an
Yeah,
approach. So that is the thing. And then thirdly, I would say projects. We need to have good projects in our resume, good as in projects that could solve some real world problem.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah, because that will have a great impact
Yeah,
on your resume. Yeah, so, and yeah, apart from this, I would say we can, I think, little bit go through the basics of system design as well.
yeah,
For me, the last round was a typical, it was like a technical round, but for a couple of my friends it was like a system design round. So it would be nice if we can go through the basic concepts of that as well. Like it started with the project discussion, but it ended up with system design, like
mm,
scaling. How do you scale
yeah,
up your project? Yeah, so things like that. And yeah, these would be the things. And if I have to give some tips on each of the rounds, then I would okay, so to start with the first round, it, like I said, it was the coding round. So here I would say two things. One thing is that say suppose we have partial marks for test cases.
yeah,
In general, on platforms like HackerRank, we have points based on the number of test cases we pass
yes,
as a whole. So in such cases, our main goal should be to pass as many test cases as possible.
yeah,
So suppose we have a question and we solved 13 or 14 out of 15 test cases. Then instead of working hard to solve the remaining one or two
mm,
test cases,
yeah,
it's yeah, like it's recommended to move on to the next, and if there is some time left, then we can get back to that.
yeah,
So that's the first thing. And secondly, I would say, say suppose you solved almost, say you have four questions and three you solve, and you have one question left, and you have only 2 to 3 minutes or just 5 minutes left, and you have not like touched that question yet. Now you go to the question, have a glance at that, and sometimes our brain doesn't work in the last
mm,
5 minutes. So what we can do at that time is like what I generally do is I try passing as many test cases as possible.
yeah,
It depends on the question. Like we can use if else case or switch case.
mm,
Like if you have a string question, then they can say a simple example. If a string is found, then you have to output something, and if it is not found, you have to output not found. Then you
mm,
can like write if cases as per
yeah,
that, and yeah, it passes at least the minimum cases. So this was about the first round tips. And then coming to code pairing, like we know, the only thing, the only magic that works here is that you have to speak what you're thinking.
yeah,
So this would be really helpful. And then yeah, in general, if I have to say something about the overall interviews, how we have to present, then firstly we need to have a clear idea on anything and everything that is mentioned in your resume,
yeah,
because that is the only thing that the interviewer has about you.
mm,
So he or she can ask anything on that. So that's the first thing. And secondly, during your interviews you can always wear a smile on your face, because
Hmm.
two things: it will boost your confidence. Secondly, it will make the entire discussion a very friendly one.
Hmm.
So it would be
Yes.
more like a friendly discussion, yeah, rather than like a interview. And then one more thing is that we have to be confident while answering, at the same time respectful towards the interviewer too, without being overconfident. And then, yeah, and one more point which some of us miss is that suppose we do not have an idea about a question, then that's okay to say, like, we have to be honest and tell the same to
Hmm.
the interviewer,
Yeah.
because yeah, like the interview would definitely not trouble us in the areas we're not strong. So yeah, that has to be remembered. And um, and then finally, each one of us is unique, so we have to be like, we have to be you have to be yourself, and
Hmm.
that would really work and you would do great. That's all. So yeah, this is all that I have to say to everyone who is intending to attend the process.
Yeah, you pretty much covered everything that there is to it, not only to the Swiggy process, but to placements in general, right? Whatever you mentioned stands correct, not only for Swiggy, but for every
Yeah,
company, the majority of the companies that there is, right?
yeah, true.
Yeah, so thanks a lot for coming to my channel and sharing your knowledge with me and my subscribers. I'm sure that it will help a lot of people. So, again, thank you so much.
My pleasure, Ashish. Thank you for having me here.